Okay, today we're going to be looking at 2.2, but we're still using our solving equations. And so far we've learned step 2 to get rid of the parentheses, step 3, be aware of your equal sign and combine like terms. We've done step 4, which is move the letter to the left, step 5, move the number to the right. And today we're going to look at step 6. We're going to save step 1, fractions and decimals, for the next section. But today we're going to look at step 6. So let's look at the problems from 2.2. Okay, so in the previous, in fact I have it right here, and I don't think I stated this, but when you move over the equal sign, you do the opposite. So if you're plussing a 5, then you would subtract a 5, because subtraction is the opposite of addition. If you were subtracting, you would add, because that's the opposite of subtraction. But today we have 5 times an x equals 25. So the opposite of multiplication is division. And so that's why step 6 is, in the last step, when you have the letter on the left and the number on the right, you get the letter by itself by dividing by the number in front. So here it's a 5 sitting in front of the x, so we're going to divide both by 5, which cancels that out and leaves me x equals 25 divided by 5 is 5. So step 6 is just to divide the number in front of the coefficient. This next one, 2x equals 9, we would get rid of that 2 by dividing both sides by 2. And so x would equal 2 won't go into 9 evenly, so you can just leave that as a fraction. If you change that to 4.5, that'd be okay too, but you can really just leave it as an improper fraction. That's usually the answer that I'll show. This next one, same thing, we're just dividing both sides by 3, which cancels out the 3's and leaves me x equals. So here you're just going to say 12 divided by 3 is 4. The signs are different, so it's negative. So you've got to watch your sign rules. This next one is a negative 4x equals negative 28. So you have to divide by the entire thing in front of the letter, not just the number. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. And some people say, well, why wouldn't it be a positive 4? Well, because we're not adding 4x, where it's like saying a negative, this is multiplication, so you're saying a negative 4 times x, so what you want to get rid of is negative 4. You want to get rid of the 4 and the negative, so you have to divide by both of them, because see, they both cancel out, leaving you x equals 28 divided by 4 is 7. The signs are alike, so it's positive. You didn't have to write that positive there. Okay, this next one, I don't know why a lot of people miss this on the test. It just kind of throws them off. But just remember, if you don't have a number that's like a negative 1, so to get x by itself, we just divide both sides by negative 1. So x would equal 5 divided by 1 is 5. The signs are different, so it's negative. And so you can think of it as dividing by negative 1, but you can also think of it as just changing the sign. You see, if you have a negative x, you can make it a positive x as long as you make the positive 5 a negative 5. And so the shortcut on this would be like for this next one, it's a negative x and I want that to be a positive x. So I can change that sign as long as I change that sign. This was a negative, so I made it a positive. This was a negative, so I made it positive. This was a negative, I made it positive. This was a positive, so I made it negative. Because what you're really doing is dividing by negative 1. And it's perfectly okay if you just show that you're dividing by negative 1. No problem at all. But where this comes in handy is one like this. Like it's got a fraction and we all hate fractions. But to get rid of the negative x, all we have to do is make it a positive x equals a positive 2/3. So just a little shortcut. Or you can just think of dividing by a negative 1 doesn't change the 2/3 fraction, just the signs are alike, so it would be positive. This next one, again, we want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3, which is going to leave me x equals, just remember, 0 divided by 3 is just 0, so you can always have 0 as an answer. Okay, I lied to you. I said we weren't going to do step 1 until the end, but we're actually doing it right here. I wasn't thinking straight. But if you have any fractions or decimals, we won't do decimals till the next section, but if you have a fraction, you get rid of it in the first step. And your test and your worksheets will say you must get rid of fractions and decimals in the first step in order to receive full credit. Because I want you to learn how to do this, because if you take some upper level like chemistry and some courses like that, you'll really need to know how to do this, and in college algebra. So let's look at this one. So here we have x divided by 3 is 4. So a fraction is just another way of writing a division problem. So if this is x divided by 3, the opposite of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So anytime you have a fraction, your step to do it is to multiply everything by the least common denominator except parentheses. I'll explain that in a minute. And so if you only have one denominator, then that's the least common denominator. So since it was x over 3, we just multiply both sides by 3, which cancels that out and leaves me x equals 4 times 3 is 12. So you get rid of a fraction by multiplying everything by the denominator. So this next one has a fraction. This 1/3 x equals -2. So to get rid of this 1/3, we multiply both sides by 3, which cancels that out. And it leaves you just a 1x. But when you have a 1x, we'll just go ahead and write the 1x. And our equals comes down, and then 2 times 3 is 6. The signs are different, so it's negative. But a 1x is just an x. Your answer, you can just write that as x equals -6, because when you divide by 1, nothing changes there. So you don't have to write that 1 if you don't want to. Okay, let's look at this next one. Again, the first thing you see is a fraction. So step 1 is get rid of the fraction by multiplying everything by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by that 5, which cancels that out and leaves me 2x equals 30. But now do you see we're following our steps? So step 1, we got rid of our fractions. Do we have parentheses? No. Do we need to simplify anything on each side? No. Is our letter on the left? Yes. Is our number on the right? Yes. So what's step 6? Divide by the number in front of the letter. So we're going to divide both by 2, which cancels that out and leaves me x equals 15. Okay, so let's look at this next one. So now we every problem will look different, and as I've taught through the years, the whole reason I came up with these steps is people didn't always know where to start. These 6 steps will work for any equation you ever have to solve in college algebra, calculus, anything, physics. These steps will always work. And so when you don't know where to start, you just think through them in your mind. Step 1, does it have any fractions? We're looking at this one here. No. Does it have any parentheses? No. Be aware of your equal sign and combine like terms. So step 3, we can combine the 2x plus the 3x is 5x. Bring down the next, the 45. Step 4 is the letter on the left. Yes. Step 5 is the number on the right. Yes. Step 6, get rid of the number in front of the letter by dividing both sides by that coefficient. So we're going to divide both sides by 5, which cancels that out and leaves you x equals 9. And you may not have to go through the steps every single time in your mind, but I'll just go through them just so you kind of know where I'm coming from. So let's look at this next one. This is one that's missed a lot because people want to do I hate to write on it, but they want to do a +2 or whatever, and you can't do that because you want to be aware of the equal sign and simplify each side. So for this one, step 1, there wasn't any fractions. Step 2, there wasn't any parentheses, but step 3 is a really important one. Be aware of your equal sign and combine like terms. Since these are all on the same side, we can just combine them and say a -9 plus 4 is -5, and a -5 and a -2 is a -7m. So we just took the coefficients. If you have trouble with your sign rules, just write them all down. That's what we were doing in our head. So these two give me a -5, and those two give me that oh, well, I'm not done yet, sorry. So we had a -7m equals 0. So that was step 3. Step 4, letter on the left, it's already there. Step 5, number on the right, it's already there. So all we have to do is step 6, which is divide by the number in front. Whoops. And so m is equal to 0 divided by anything is 0. Now this next one, it's got a little bit more going on, so we're going to follow all our steps. So step 1, does it have any fractions? I'm going to leave it off to the side, but I'm going to go through the steps. So step 1, does it have any fractions? No. Step 2, get rid of my parentheses. So I'm going to distribute here and get a negative 3x plus 12, and then just bring down the rest of the problem. Step 3, an important step and one a lot of people skip, is be aware of your equal sign and combine like terms. So I can combine my x's and I can combine my numbers. So here negative 3 and positive 2 is a negative 1x. 12 minus 10 is 2 equals 43. Step 3 is my letter on the left, yes. But step 4, are both of my numbers on the right of the equal sign? No. So I've got to move this one over the equal sign. And you see, you never do that until step 4 or 5. And so that leaves me a negative 1x equals 41. And then step 6, divide by the number in front of the letter, including the sign there. So x is equal to a negative 41 because the signs are different. Okay, this last one, we do have a fraction. So step 1 is clear your fractions or decimals by multiplying by the LCD. So on this one, my denominator is 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4 except the parentheses. You skip those parentheses. Think of those as kind of being protected. And when you do that, those 4's cancel out. But don't forget, you got this negative 3. So you have left a negative 3 times x plus 2 equals 12, because 4 times 3 is 12. Step 2, get rid of your parentheses by distributing. So I get a negative 3x minus 6 equals 12. Watch your sign rule. Signs are different, so it's negative. Step 4 is, step 3, be aware of your equal sign. Here it is, but I can't combine anything, so I don't need step 3. Step 4 is your letter on the left. Yes. Step 5, move your number to the right. And so this is where there's, I need to move this negative 6 over by making it a positive 6. So I have a negative 3x equals 18. And then step 6, divide by the number in front of the letter, including the sign. So x equals negative 6. So you might need to practice these a bit with the 6 steps, but I promise you, if you'll learn these steps and get used to working through them in this method, you'll see that no matter how difficult they are, when we get to 2.3b, there's some doozies, but you just follow these steps and it'll work for every single problem you ever do. So now go to practice problems 2.2.